Hey guys, how's it going? It's Bill. So today I'm going to be doing like a redux, so to speak, of one of my earlier videos. I told a story about how I worked my first job when I was at Carlos Jr. and I wanted to redo the video because my mic quality was ass and I wasn't rocking with the face cam at the time, so I want to sit there and do it some more justice. Before I get too much further, I do want to ask you guys, what was your first job and how long did you last at it? Like I'm about to tell you in this story, I worked at Carlos Jr. for about 6 months just at this location. I ended up getting another one. My first job was at Carlos Jr. for 6 months, so what's up with yours? I was about 17 years old. I was looking for a job. I was sitting there like not really too picky. I was like, well, it's gonna be food service or like retail, you know, like Walmart or some shit like that, like a grocery store or maybe like a clothing store. So I'm sitting there, I'm looking around. I'm not really getting too much hope because, you know, nobody wants to hire 17-year-olds. It's kind of stupid. Makes no sense, but whatever. I finally get a job over at Carlos Jr. and whatever, not get a job, but like I get like an interview at Carlos Jr. And you know, I get told to come in for an interview or whatever. I fill out a couple little interview things, I turn in my resume, and I get told to come in for a real interview. And I get interviewed and they kind of screen me through it. I meet this lady, her name is Lisa. Keep this in mind or whatever, it's not the most important, but it is what it is. So me and Lisa are you know, at like one of the tables or whatever. She's interviewing me, she's running through the questions, and then midway through, she's like, oh, okay, so you're familiar with this area, you're from here, and I'm like, oh yeah. So then she kind of starts filling me in, like, just to make sure. She's like, okay, look, well, it's kind of not the best area, like this and that, and I'm like, oh yeah, you know, I'm familiar, it is what it is. But this isn't like that important, but it will be, but it isn't, but it's just part of the, you know, part of the job. So, whatever. We get through this interview and she's like, okay, well, we'll call you if whatever happens. About like 3 or 4 days come around, and I get the phone call from her. I get told that I have the job. Boom, we're in the door. I show up that next Wednesday or something along the lines, and I work my first shift another week or so later, and they finally consider me like trained enough to work the front or whatnot. So this is like my first couple of days or so of working the front. I remember vividly, like one of the first few memories I have is this dude just walks in, like he's just by himself, and I'm like, oh, what's up, man? Good morning. Like, you know, I'm just, whatever, it's just a dude. Like, it's, I don't know what else to say. Like, it's California. You can talk to people like that. Like, he looked like he was about my age. So I was like, whatever. Like, they tell you to speak to the customers. I'm like, oh, what's up, man? How's it going? Good morning. And dude just like does not say a word, comes in, smacks the shit out of the coffee display, like the whole thing. And if you don't know what I mean, you know, you walk into a restaurant, they have all the little like lids all stacked up. This is pre-COVID, this is kind of funny. But you know, they have the lids stacked up, they have the straws stacked up, you know, like the salts or whatever, all the BS or whatever, like all the fixings. So he comes in, just fucking levels that shit, dog, sends that shit flying. And I mean, honestly, it was like whatever. I mean, it was pretty chad. Like, I was the person that had to clean it up because I was the front person, and I wasn't really tripping. I thought that shit was kind of hilarious, like, then and in hindsight, so I'm not really tripping. And we fast forward maybe like another day or 2 or 3. I remember there was this other dude, and this is the reason why we took down our drink display. Like, we took down our drink display before COVID, and it's because there was this one dude that would come in, and he would, like, order a coffee, and before he even got the coffee, bro would just grab the creamers and just start chucking them shits. Like, he wouldn't chuck them at anybody in particular is the craziest part, or maybe not the craziest, probably the part that just makes it more like weird, but he would just like throw it at like the windows and shit. Like, he would just be launching them shits, like launching it across the restaurant and everything. He didn't really hit anybody or come close to hitting anybody like I mentioned, but I felt like it was just kind of weird. Like, bro would just come in and just start launching fucking creamers. So after like the second time he did that, we had to dead that shit. Like, we had to just pull everything behind the counter. So he's the reason why that location probably will never have those shits out again. But on to more stuff, because obviously it was a pretty crazy location. I think this is probably 2 months into when I got the job. So the detail I forgot to mention is that I'm basically the only dude that works there. There's one other dude, but he works the morning shift, and since I work the night shift, if you know anything about work, I'm probably never gonna come into contact with him, you know? So at all times, you know, he's probably the only dude on the floor at his shift. I'm the only dude at the floor on my shift. It's just how it is, so only dude, like I mentioned. Whatever, this isn't the most relevant detail, but the reason why I point this out is because, like, you know, this does play in a little bit of an element. Like, you have to think in the back of your head, like, damn, why do only two dudes work here then? Like, what happened to the rest of the dudes? It's like, you know, questions like that. So what's it called? One day, like I said, about 2 months into my job, it's about whatever, call it like October or November, this dude I don't know when, used the bathroom that was basically my private bathroom and the other dude's private bathroom. So I'm just like, what the fuck? And the reason why I notice this because I walk in there and there's shit like all over the fucking walls and all over the bathroom. I walk back over to my manager and be like, bro, someone just fucked up the whole bathroom. And they're just like, oh, okay, can you clean it? Like completely unfazed. And I'm sitting there like, I think it, and I almost say it out loud because I'm 17, I don't give a shit. I'm like, dude, you get paid more than I do. What the fuck do I have to do worse work for? It sounds like they're paying you for nothing if you're not doing the harder work. But blah blah blah. I basically like bitch at her and I'm like, I'm not gonna do that shit alone. You better send somebody with me at least. Jesus Christ, that's like a biohazard or some shit. So I have to go in there and clean that shit because I'm 17 and I have like no self-respect. And whatever, I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm about to quit this shit. I'm tired of this shit. Like that shit starts putting me on like my edge. I'm like getting ready to quit the job, like in the back of my head. Like not actually like planning it or anything like that, but in the back of my, that's when you start like thinking that shit. You're like, oh fuck this job, bro. This shit's a bitch. So I sit there, I get a little further into the job or whatever. I think now we'll call it like December or so. We have like this like Secret Santa bullshit. And what's it called? I mean, I don't know what else to call it. It's like a Secret Santa thing, but like for work. So like it's hella contrived. You know how that stuff is. It always kind of like sucks because like people don't like each other at jobs, this and that. And that's when I mentioned that thing about like there's only two dudes. It was like a really weird dynamic because there was lots of women and there was a lot of space for drama to brew because there's only like 11 people there at that whole restaurant. And I think we can see where this is going. A lot of confinement. So whatever. There's like a lot of like beef or whatever. So the Christmas party like happens or whatever. I show up. I bring like my like whatever I was supposed to bring for the person I got. I didn't get shit for the person that was supposed to bring me something. They still never brought it to me, mind you. And we were just chilling. Like the person that was supposed to give me a gift did not show up. I got the gift for the person like whatever because you know it's a little chain or like whatever. It's a web. Like you know you could bring the gift for someone, they could still be there. So I didn't end up getting anything. Like I was just chilling. I didn't really care. I just showed up to like we're in a legal state. It doesn't really matter. Sometime after that like Christmas party, my manager offered me a ride home, and we got to smoke. Like we just went to the store location, like the one that we worked at, because it was the Christmas like thing, but some people were still working there, and we just showed up and kind of like bothered them and started smoking in the drive-thru. So shout out that manager, they're pretty sick. If any corporate representatives are asking for information on them, you can eat a dick, fuck you, I'm not telling you shit. But yeah, shout out that manager, they were pretty cool. We smoked together in the drive-thru of our job. And then so this was like a cool thing, but that manager was always cool. Everybody else was still a bitch made, you feel me? So we get through further into the job or whatever, blah blah blah. You already know where this is going. What's it called? Like my boss, like the main manager, is like such a bitch. Like she's just always sitting there like bitching at me. Like she'll sit there and be like, oh, you put too much ice in that drink. I'm like, why the fuck are you watching how much ice I'm putting into shit? You don't got shit to do? Like you're telling me you're watching me work right now, bruh? Like shit like that. So basically like I had already been up to there, like they had already been bitching at me or whatever. Like I was already a little pissed. So one day the boss comes up to me and she's like, oh, have you been stealing money? I'm like, the fuck are you talking about, bro? Like I'm sitting there like genuinely like pissed because I'm already not having it, because I come into work after school. Like I'm already coming in after dealing with some bullshit, you feel me? So I'm not here to deal with any bullshit. If you could, like, you know, I wasn't there for any like side what's it called, like blindside shit, you know? So she comes up to me with that question. I'm like, hell no, what the hell are you talking about? And then she sits there and starts alluding to the fact that she thinks it's me, because she's like, oh, well, this and this happened because your shift and you're new or whatever. Like she starts basically saying that money went missing in my shift. Whatever. Like I just think it's complete bullshit. I'm like, I kind of see the vision, like, you know what I'm saying? I kind of get the idea of like, okay, he's new, like he might be making like simple transaction mistakes, but she wasn't framing it like that. She made it seem like I was trying to rob her or whatever, or trying to steal. So you know, that kind of pissed me off or whatever. So some time goes by and like they start trying to crunch down who's stealing or whatever. They start trying to figure out who's the one that's stealing, and you know, whatever, they start narrowing it down, this and that. We start crossing off people and they finally figure out who it is. It was the manager, the one that didn't give me a present, mind you. So fuck him, that's actually it. But yeah, so this manager finally gets caught for stealing. They don't do anything really. Like they don't fire her or cut her hours or shit. Like nothing happens to them. They were like prepared to like fire me and threatening me and this and that, but like that bitch does it because you already know how that works. So that shit happens and I'm like, oh yeah, that's strike two. So like I said, my main manager, the one that was bitching at me, accusing me of stealing at first, starts bitching at me again on a separate occasion. Now we're about like maybe like March at this point, so I've, like I said, had this job for about 6 months now. So she's like bitching at me on this particular day, but on this particular day, like I mentioned, it's just the last straw, and I chose it like real narrowly. Like I really tried to sit there and decide like when was going to be the day. I really felt like today was it, because it was just me, her, and a cook. And she, like I said, she did jack shit. She just watched me. I was already trained to work the whole front by myself, and if you know anything about fast food, if you're experienced for 6 months, you damn near know it all. You know, it's a high turnover rate. Damn near by 6 months, you know how to work the job. So I was doing decent. I could hold down the whole front by myself. The chef was holding down the whole back by herself. The boss was doing jack shit. So when like part of the shift or whatever, like a couple hours into the shift or whatnot, she decides to start bitching into my ear. She's sitting there just bitching, sitting there complaining about like how I'm bagging shit up or how many napkins I'm putting in or how much ice I'm putting in the drink. Like she's sitting there bitching over like medial ass shit during a rush in which I am one of 2 people actually working. And I'm just like, all right, cool. So I'm just like, do you want to do something then? Like I tell her. And like not like that, like not like do you want to do something, like do you want to catch the fade? I mean, do you want to work and help me speed up this process and do it correctly? And what's it called? She does not take it too kindly, and I forget what she starts bitching at me about, but it's mostly because I wasn't listening, not because she wasn't being loud enough. She was just like bitching. I don't know. So I was just like, oh, okay, cool. And I just took off my headset and like clocked out and walked out. And she had to get stuck doing work mid-rush. So, I mean, shit, kick rocks. I still got paid that day. I mean, it was whatever. And I stole hella food when I worked there, so eat a dick. But hey, that's all from me today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you guys always for watching. Thank you.